Welcome to Futures Focus, talking all prospects all the time across all the levels of the game. Brought to you by Prospects 1500. This is your host, Jeremy May, back for another week and back again joined by Kurt Moody, Detroit Tiger guru Kurt Moody. Kurt, how's it going, man?
It's going well, Jeremy. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, absolutely. Doing really well. So the hot stove is fully kicked off as we record here on the Monday before Thanksgiving. Been some pretty interesting trades. I know this is a podcast focused or a prospects focused podcast, and there hasn't been really much movement with the podcast, or with prospects, Kurt. But I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit because I've heard some rumors involving a former player from my favorite team and your team, and I want to get your take on something if you'll indulge me for a moment. So I was flipping through my news feed today, and I saw that the Detroit Tigers are eyeing Ryan Helsley, which when I saw it, I said, "Hey, it makes perfect sense. You know, they could use somebody at the back end of their bullpen. Ryan Helsley's at the back end of the bullpen. Awesome, great." Then I read further down in the article, and I see that they're potentially eyeing him as a starter. Kurt, have you heard those rumors as well?
I have, and I've actually heard it from multiple teams who see him as a starter project for whatever team he signs with, which, again, I'll be 100% honest. I'm not a complete expert on his stuff. I know him as a, hype up, high energy, high leverage situation as a closer. You don't see a lot of those go the other way. You see great starters end up in the bullpen, the John Smoltzes of the world.
Sure.
But you don't see a lot of established closer, multiple teams, multiple years, and then they say, "Hey, by the way, we're gonna stretch you out and make you a 90-pitch starter."
Yeah, it would be very interesting. Again, not to belabor the point too much. I just found it very interesting. But I think the last time I was reading that he actually started a game was back in AAA Memphis back in 2019. And of course, his arsenal
years.
Exactly. His arsenal has obviously drastically changed between then. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. If the Tigers go after him, it seems like it would make so much more sense to put him in his natural role and let him just eat out of the back of that bullpen. No offense to Will Vest, but I think he'd be a slight upgrade there. So
no, absolutely, and don't doubt Chris Fetter. I think Chris Fetter, Tigers pitching coach, is one of the best pitching coaches in the majors. But where we're at, especially with the Skubal contract lingering, trade or sign, we were final 8 of Major League Baseball 2 years in a row. Is that really the type of team that needs to go out and do a pitching project?
Yeah, no kidding. Good point. And it's not like you guys are starting pitching necessarily starved anyways. So
it's interesting. Hey, I like that we're talking about the Tigers actually wanting to make moves and or spend money. So I'm glad they're in the news in the hot stove of not just Skubal trade hypotheticals.
Oh, I agree. And so, and I have a feeling we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into your Tigers here just shortly as well. But Kurt, we talk, in jest a little bit about the trade, hot stove heating up a little bit. But the focus of this podcast is going to be the Arizona Fall League, and I personally love the Arizona Fall League because it's a blast to watch. If you keep it in context for what it is, it's a great place to catch a bunch of great prospects and maybe some guys that were hurt during the year that are kind of getting some innings at the end of the year and stuff. It's just a really cool place to catch some games, and typically you can catch a game a day free on the computer or anything like that. So it's pretty cool to watch some of that. But Kurt, the reason you're here is because you got to experience the 2025 Arizona Fall League firsthand. So I kind of wanted to pick your brain and let you kind of talk to the listeners a little bit and fill them in on your experience. And then we'll kind of talk about some of the players, but I really wanted to hear about your experience first and kind of some of your takeaways.
Absolutely. First off, from someone who's lucky enough to have taken in spring training, both grapefruit and cactus, Arizona Fall League is an experience that beats it all. Um, it's so intimate. You've got 6 teams, so you've got 3 games a day, 2 in the afternoon, 1 at night. Sometimes there's double headers. A couple times a year, they do triple headers all in one ballpark. It truly is, in my 43-year-old old soul self, it is true baseball. You have players that are just out there grinding, having fun. There's fan interaction. There's pregame kids getting autographs and pictures with players. There's post-game, family vacationing. So you get the players who bring in their girlfriends and their mom and dad, and it's young prospects. Let's be honest. Usually, it's prospects who have been injured throughout the year, and/or the team wants to get a really good look at them before a Rule 5 determination. We'll talk about that, in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so pure, and so much fun because it's from someone who goes to a lot of college baseball games. I could probably go to more college baseball games than I do pro games, and about the same as minor. You see guys having fun, screaming, yelling, having fun with each other, and that's truly what you see these guys have is kind of that fraternity that now when they're in the pros and they develop together, they can look back and remember these games.
Yeah, I've heard from. I have unfortunately I have yet to make it to an Arizona fall league, but that is definitely going to have to be something that's on my bucket list. But I've heard from multiple people, like you just said, who have been to uh, spring training, minor league games, Arizona Fall League, say the exact same thing you
And
have.
it's
That it's just for everything, for all the aspects, you have them all in one experience. And heck, like you can make a weekend of it like you did and catch some pretty good ball. So
Absolutely. And it's, flying into Phoenix. And so it's a major hub airport. Almost every airline has multiple flights a day into it. When you land, you've got games spreading from Glendale and Surprise all the way over to Mesa, all the way up to Scottsdale. And you can do all those drives in under 25 minutes. So it's not like some spring trainings, you might go from Dunedin down to Bradenton over to Lakeland, all the way over to Jupiter, and you're covering the entire east to west coast of Florida. So it's much more localized. I do only 3 days every year. Well, I'll rephrase that. This year was 3 days. Fly in Friday morning, you got a Friday afternoon game, you've got a Friday night game, you've got Saturday home run derby, you've got Sunday fall stars, and then even I'm in Houston, I get a red eye out at midnight after the fall star game, and I'm back by that Monday morning, bushy tailed and red eyed going to work. But it's just such a simple trip for those who just want to take in a baseball game with maybe 500 people in attendance.
yeah, that is an intimate environment for sure. So Kurt, you talked about it. You got to see home run derby. Anything I saw from the names maybe slightly underwhelming potentially this year, but as far as star power in the home run derby, but taking in the home run derby, is there anything of note that stood out to you, or anything maybe to impart on the listeners?
So 2 things. One, Tony Blanco Jr. can mash a baseball. For those who are listening and never seen Tony Blanco, he wears 99, and he might be the only human being on earth who can get away wearing 99 and maybe be bigger than Aaron Judge. Um,
Yeah.
6'7", and I think that's barefoot. So good 6'8", 6'9" is what I would put him at, and then 240 according to media guides. That's being generous, and maybe on like a 2-day fast. He can absolutely launch them. What him and his teammate, oh gosh, why am I blanking on names?
Esmeralyn Valdez.
Esmer and Valdez.
Yeah.
What they did in the final was impressive. Now here's this, and the AFL heard it from some of the media members who were there, and even some of the fans. The format they shifted to this year that had teams but not
Mm-hmm.
really teams was a little bit disjointed. they're trying to make it fun, and I give them credit for it. They've made that evening really, really fun. Live bands. It's at Sloan Park, which is the spring training home of the Cubs. Beautiful stadium, beautiful outfield berms. They made the berms 18 and under for the bottom half of it this year, which was really nice because then you didn't have adults chasing down home run balls. You had kids the way that at least this dad thinks it should be. But
Oh, for sure.
they've got to figure out the format, and they've got to figure out how to get some of the names in. Because while it was a great night, when you looked at the lineup, yeah, you had Tommy White, who is really well known from a national championship at LSU and was a crowd favorite with the Athletics. But other than like Luke Adams was really nice. Luke Adams might be one of the nicest guys I met that whole weekend. Just really humble, talks to everybody. But does anybody really know the prospect Sosa from Baltimore as a home run hitter? I would challenge that they could have had some bigger names had one, the player agreed to it, or two, maybe the player's uh, team and organization said, hey, we don't want you going out there and screwing with your swing in a home run derby. So I don't know the background and how that sausage is made, but we got to do something to get better names.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it was a little underwhelming this year, but I mean, I 100% agree with you. There are not many guys that can wear the number 99, and you can see all of both digits fully in the middle of their back, and it still be with some room to spare on both sides of the jersey. He looks like an NFL defensive end more than he does a baseball player. But
And couldn't even celebrate because he's only 20 years old.
there you go. There
Couldn't
you
even
go.
properly celebrate and have a great night. And that said, I'll skip ahead for a second and we'll come back to it.
Hmm.
I pray that Pittsburgh does not screw those two prospects up because they have two young guys that fans love. They interact with the fans. They look like they're having fun. That's what Pittsburgh needs, and I pray that they make it work.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. That's what as a Cardinals fan, I would be okay with them screwing it up, but it's about time for the Pirates to have some good things go their way, especially in the hitting development side of the on the prospect side. But so let's jump over to the Fall Stars game. You did attend the Fall Stars game. You did say, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so the AL pulled one out at the end and won 5-4. What stood out? Anything that really stood out to you from the Fall Star game? I know we're going to talk about the MVP to that game, definitely some more later. But anything else that stood out to you?
I mean, it's tough to continue to be impressed with Hagen Smith, but I was really impressed with Hagen Smith. Put a couple people on board in the one inning he worked, and then came back and struck out and stranded them. Kind of worked out of his own jam. His pitching is, I mean, triple digits, and then he'll just buckle your knee with what looks like a 75-mile-an-hour off-speed pitch. So it's one of those. Hagen Smith really impressed me. Anderson Brito from the Astros
Mm-hmm.
did not pitch in the Fall Star game due to rest, but was able to catch him ahead of time. I'm really impressed with the arm that Houston has in Brito. The other pitcher who didn't pitch that kind of was disappointing was Winston Santos from the Rangers. Would have liked to seen him go. But in the game itself, Hagen Smith looked great. Again, selfishly, McGonigal was on base multiple times. Parks Harbor didn't have a great Fall Star game, but man, he had a great fall, and it was good to see him out there having fun. The Fall Star game, for those of you who did not watch it on TV or catch it in person, you've got a new pitcher every inning.
Mm-hmm.
Starters play about 2, maybe 3, and then you cycle them out depending on their spot in the batting order. It truly is an exhibition. It gets competitive towards the end, but you're talking about players that are having a grand old time.
Yeah, it was a great watch. Really enjoyed watching it myself, and got to see some guys that, like you said, in a slightly different environment and truly just relax. I agree with you. That's interesting that you pick up on that because you probably see it a lot more live, but it does just look like the guys are just out there having a blast. Yeah, great stuff there, and thanks for kind of filling us in on your time out there. But I think let's jump over and talk about some of the guys that we just mentioned. Probably go in depth a little bit more, and what we'll do, I think, Kurt, is we'll run through who MLB Pipeline selected this year as their all Arizona Fall League team. And then maybe towards the end we can kind of hit on some individual things and kind of go through some players. But I think we'll just talk about we'll kind of go by positions here and just break them down. But so for the outfield, MLB Pipeline again, and you can find their list online. But from the outfield, they chose Esmeralyn Valdez from the Pirates, Braden Montgomery from the Chicago White Sox, and Rowdy Rodriguez from the Angels. Anybody who even lightly followed the Arizona Fall League was probably no stranger to the home run fest that Esmeralyn Valdez put on. I think he had like 5 home runs in the first 5 games or something. It was insane. Did cool off a little bit as of late, or later, but he just absolutely mashed the ball. Rowdy Rodriguez kind of continued a pretty solid season out there in the fall, and Braden Montgomery didn't get in as many games as most of the other guys on this list, but hit the ball really well during his time. So, Kurt, any of those 3 that you wanna hit on more than anybody else and talk about specifically?
Rowdy Rodriguez. If there was something for the Angels, I believe in previous podcasts, previous episodes, here we've talked about the Angels pitching and how they're not a very highly rated farm system, but I believe in some of their young arms. Something more than some of our other Prospects 1500 people. Rowdy Rodriguez gives the Angels something to look forward for in a bat. Probably the most, I'd say, hyped bat since maybe Joe Adell. Now, I don't want to compare him to Joe Adell because Joe Adell took a few more years than anybody would like to figure it out. Rodriguez had an amazing year. California League, 14 home runs, 83 RBIs, and 90 runs. So his, continuation of that into the Fall League shouldn't have really shocked anybody after what he did this year in the Angels system. The one side of it that did shock me was he got to damn near every ball in the outfield when I saw him play on Friday night. I mean, there were a couple line drives that we kind of looked at each other and were like, well, that's in the gap. Nope, not in the gap. So it's one of those. Rowdy also got 60 at-bats this fall. So it was obviously something the Angels wanted to see him play as much as possible, as much as the manager wanted to shift him and out of the outfield, which becomes tricky when you have a 35 or plus roster. But it's Rowdy Rodriguez is the real deal.
Yeah, he kind of popped up for me throughout the year a little bit. We talked about him on one of the podcasts, I think, but like you said, I mean, he stole 38 bases and had a 23.2% K rate. A little bit, maybe, he may be, I guess the argument would be maybe for A-ball, he might be a hair old for 22. I don't get super, super wrapped up in that. But I think that's awesome that you hit on the defensive ability, because that's something that unless you see him live, which you don't get to read some of that. And I know from a fantasy sports or dynasty, maybe some people don't care about defense as much, but we've said it before, and I 100% believe it. A good defender is going to make an average bat stay on the field a little bit longer, and
Yep.
he's got the potential for much more than an average bat. So,
Fall-Star game MVP.
Yes,
played 18 games. He hit 433 in Arizona with a 1100 OPS.
yes.
So But here's the fun thing. That OPS of 1164 is with one home run. So his slugging is coming from triples and doubles
Yep.
and just getting on base, which is all you can ask a guy to do in fall league.
Oh, 100%. And I'm so glad you mentioned that because, yes, if you look at it, one home run, but he did have 6 doubles and 2 triples, which that's awesome. So yes, Angels fans have to be excited because there's just not a lot on the offensive side to just get super excited about for the Angels. Esmeralyn Valdez, we kind of hit on him lightly. Again, I mean the power's there. Dude mashes the ball. He hit 26 bombs in the regular year between high A and double A. 8
He had
more.
eight home runs in 19 games in Arizona.
That's pretty impressive. And what I like, because during the season he had about a 25% K rate. In the Arizona Fall League, he walked 19 times and only struck out 12, which
You
is
read
which is massive.
That's where I know you and I can get along on these podcasts. That's what I have circled on my paper in front of me. So you could tell they sent him there and said,
Yep.
work on your patience and pitch recognition. Because there were times that he'd take a pitch just because it's the count where I know I should start to take a pitch. If it's 2-0, if it's not a fastball middle in, I'm not swinging, and that's what those young guys need to learn in these kind of overly instructive simulation games of Arizona Fall League.
And if that's true, and if he was working on something, how insane is that? That working on plate patience clearly did not get in the way of him slugging the ball because he still slugged 842.
Yep.
So that's pretty impressive. Braden Montgomery, I don't. There's not a lot to say there. Again, everybody, if you listen to this podcast, you know who Braden Montgomery is. But much like Esmeralyn Valdez, he may have been sent there to work on his patience a little bit because he had a darn near 30% K rate this year in double A, which can be slightly alarming. But again, if you look at his numbers in the Arizona Fall League, 13 walks, 12 Ks. So again, he clearly went down there to work on something as well.
Well, and he won the fan vote as last guy in the Fall Stars. And you've probably heard me gush about Braden because I remember him at A&M.
Yes.
But he's just one of those guys. It is impossible to not, one, like his game, but then two, like him as a person. So glad he won that Fall Star vote. I was a little shocked to see him make Pipeline's team. I'll talk about the snub in the outfield, in my opinion, later, because he didn't play that much.
Right.
I feel like, one, to get better prospects out there and to get teams to send their better prospects, we need to celebrate the people who spent 20 plus games out in Arizona.
Oh, agree. Yeah, I was a little surprised, and I have someone later in the outfield that I wanted to talk about. So it'll be interesting to see if we're going to hit on the same snub or not. But anyways, so let's jump over to the infield side, unless there's anything else you want to add about those three gentlemen.
Not at all, because I got some Tigers that are coming up. Let's get to them.
Yeah, you do. And one in particular that I'm gonna put you on the spot and have a little bit of fun with. I think, and that's the first name I'm gonna read off. So we'll just go from left to right across the diamond. So you've got third baseman Kevin McGonigal for Detroit, and there's an emphasis on third baseman. Shortstop Seaver King from Washington. Second base, you and I's maybe prospect crush, Sam Antonacci from the White Sox. And previously mentioned by you over at the first base side, you got Parks Harbor from the San Francisco Giants. So, Kurt, I'm going to let you talk about whoever it is that you want to talk about. There's one guy I really want to talk about a lot, but let's see where you go with it first. Who do you want to hit on to start with this on this infield group of four?
Well, I don't want to sound like a homer, so I'll leave the MVP to where you want to go and how you want to ask third baseman questions. Let's talk about Sam Antonacci.
Thank you. Thank you.
You might have hit it. I might have my AL Central prospect quote unquote crush My last tweet, I think I tagged you in, is
Yes.
Antonacci is inevitable.
Yep.
Um, the guy just it is your proverbial lunch pail. He's a coach's son, first to the
Mm-hmm.
field, last one to leave, and the kid just does nothing but get on base and impress. It's unreal. Every time you look up, he's either making a play in the infield or he's on base. He hit 378, OPS over 1,000, 3 home runs, 14 RBIs in 19 games in Arizona. Oh, by the way, he
Mm-hmm.
also walked once a game. 19 walks in 19 games. Or sorry,
Yep.
I've been the wrong line. 15. That was 19 for Valdez. 15 walks for
15. Yep.
Antonacci.
Yep. Yep.
And in that White Sox crowded prospect infield, it's going to be interesting where that goes because they're pretty set with Colson Montgomery. They're pretty set with Chase Meadroth. Where does Sam go? And so it's going to be interesting how Sam he's definitely small enough. He's got to be middle infield.
Yeah.
He is not a corner infielder,
Mm-mm.
but Sam is just one of those. Again, every time you look up, he's on base. He's
Oh
stealing
yeah.
bases.
Yep.
Yep.
He's a blast, and he continued. It's not like I think I mentioned this off air. Um, I think you to be you have to put Arizona Fall League in its box because it is an extreme hitters environment, and it's almost and we'll hit on this later. If you don't hit well in the Arizona Fall League, it's almost an indictment on you more than if you do hit well. But what I like to see, and kind of like what we talked about off air, is again, what are these guys working on? And did they carry over some trends from the regular season into Arizona Fall League? And then did
Mhm.
they make improvements on things? And it's not like Sam Antonacci just went to Arizona and all of a sudden blew up. I mean, the guy between high A and double A this year, he had a 407 weighted on base average and stole 48 bases and
Correct.
walked as much as he struck out within a percentage of each other. Yeah, maybe he doesn't have a lot of power, but you know, I love the guy. I heard on another podcast. I heard them. I don't love comps, but I think with him this is pretty appropriate. An early career Whit Merrifield with the Royals that
I can
they
see
kind of
that.
compared Sam Antonacci to him early on in his career. And gosh, if you got 85% of that, the White Sox would be just jumping for joy.
See, and as the more I think about it, because yes, I've carried the lunch pail for Sam. I think this is the third podcast you've heard me mention his name on. I put him at Ian Kinsler, and that might be
Okay,
just as good as the comp against Merrifield.
well, that'd
Though
be a
I'll
little
tell
more
you
power even.
a little bit more power because he has it. It's popping his bat, and what it is he's so patient. He gets into counts where he knows it's a fastball count. He can sit on a location, and when he hits, he hits. What I don't like about that Whit Merrifield comp, as a Tiger fan, I hate Whit Merrifield. And so if he becomes that in the White Sox, I don't want to see that 17 times a year. Come on, man.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I should think about my comps while I have you on here and be a little more careful with that.
No, but he
No,
he he like I said, the biggest problem is going to be where does that crowded middle infield in the next 2 years for the White Sox? What does Sam become? Because I don't know if he can play the outfield. But we'll see where they shift around some of that crowded prospect middle infield.
yeah. I think you got to find a way to get him on a major league roster at some point. He's a guy that seems like fans would naturally draw to him, um, just the way he plays the game. But Seaver King, I don't know. I'm not a huge Seaver King guy. Kind of had a below average season, honestly, this year in the minors. Did honestly though turn it on in the Arizona Fall League. Hit really really well. Um, so anything really you wanna add about Seaver King? I mean, guy hit 359, 468, 563, five doubles, a triple, two home runs, 24 RBIs. So definitely definitely hit the ball well um, compared to his regular season numbers.
A
Uh,
little bit. It's going to be interesting because 22, be 23
yeah,
by kind of
yep,
minor league opening day next year. So it's kind of, I don't know if he's Rule 5 eligible next year. Forgive me for that, but it's coming to a head on, I think, the patience level for Seaver King in the Washington fan base and in their organization. You know,
agree. Yeah,
they're going to
yeah.
take strides with Brady and Cruz
Hmm.
and um, young arms like Mackenzie Gore, and it's just James Wood. It's one of those. He was supposed to be part of this core that's hitting in the next year. Let's see if it's something where 2026 continues. Because yeah, you're right. Arizona Fall League was where he should have been all year in a lot of people's predictions.
Yeah, for sure. So I was looking up that you brought up a very interesting point with him. It looks like he's Rule 5 eligible December of 27. So he's
Okay,
got a
so they
little
got
bit,
one full.
but yeah, one more full season to really evaluate what they have in him. But uh, further to your point, he's got a pretty good prospect sitting behind him who had a great year in Luke Dickerson. And don't forget, they just went and drafted Eli Willits
Yep.
as well. So uh, again, patience may not be something long with him when you have those two guys sitting right on his heels. So,
Now I will say this because I talked about it at the beginning. Part of the Arizona Fall League experience is for that Fall Stars, they kind of do a red carpet.
mm-hmm.
Seaver and his girlfriend were probably the most fun for everybody surrounding that red carpet. Just a great young kid.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's something neat too. That's again, that's the side of things that the stats and the numbers don't show that you get to see down there in Arizona. That's really cool. We're going to save the best for last in this infield group, but I do want to talk a little bit about Parks Harbor because I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I did not know much about his name until I started looking at Arizona Fall League rosters a couple
Mm-hmm.
months ago. So I had to dive on him a little bit, and he came over to the Giants in the Camilo Doval trade.
Correct.
Again, another case of old for the level. He was 24, I think, this season in A ball. So you know that's definitely on the older side. But he hit well. He had a 445 weighted on base average and slugged the ball well, a 227 ISO. So, I mean, the guy hit the ball super well. I'm surprised he didn't pop earlier for me. I really want to see how he does in Double A next year to kind of see if, as he gets a little more age level appropriate, does the pitching overwhelm him, or can he make the adjustments and keep rolling? But man, his Arizona Fall League numbers look great. I mean, 14 walks to 20 Ks, so that's doable for sure. Especially if he's going to hit with the power that he has over there at first base. So do the Giants have yet another first baseman prospect on their hands here?
Yes. Asterisk. 20 Ks was only in 17 games, so he's
True.
more than a K and 9.
True.
There, a lot of people slip through the cracks and go undrafted. There's a reason why he didn't get drafted in 2024 and signed as a free agent. If you throw an off-speed pitch or a curveball to him, let me level set with this. I'll do the old compliment sandwich. Parks Harbor was probably the most fun next to Luke Adams for the Home Run Derby and the Fall Star game. Just an absolute blast to watch, do interviews, take pictures, yuck it up with the other players. He's a cool dude. Got a fan out of me just out of who he is. He is Adam Dunn, Mark Reynolds, Travis Hafner.
Yeah, those are not some names I like to hear.
Could he hit 40 home runs for the Giants? Absolutely. He can go oppo into the ocean out there for the Giants. He has power to every single inch of not PNC, AT&T. Is it still AT&T? What is Giants Park named? I don't know. But he could put it out there in
Yeah,
the
that's a good
Bay
question. I don't
and have
remember.
them go crazy all the time. He's got to, and you again, you hit it on the point. He had elevated walks in Arizona, so again, go out there, work on your patience, work on pitch identification. He struggles with the off speed. Do not try to sneak a fastball by him; he'll freaking yank it out. The other side is defensively. You know, the Giants got Devers, who's a defensive liability, and they tried to put him at first, right? Devers would look like a Gold Glove with how people predict Parks Harbor's defense.
Yeesh.
So there's no real defensive part for him. Now, does that mean in the universal DH of today that he couldn't be the DH for the Giants and just go out there and mash? I mean, there's a position for that. But I would love to see what he does in 2026 and how he does in spring training. You'd hit the nail on it. He's 24. You're not hiding this guy in high A or double A. He's going to be triple A or double A to start, and how quick he can get to the pros is how quickly he can get to the pros.
Sure, and you know, like we talked about earlier with Rowdy Rodriguez running everything down in the outfield. Like it or not, defense does matter, and if you're relegated to first base / DH, that's going to put a lot of pressure on that bat to perform.
Yep. And the Giants' number one prospect is a first baseman.
Exactly.
So you're not sneaking ahead of Bryce.
If Bryce Eldridge stays on the Giants roster, it makes things much more difficult for Parks.
Correct. But I do like the kid. I wish him the best. I would love him, you know, as a DH power bat. But yeah, we've got to see more of Parks Harbor before we really establish who he is.
For sure. But again, great thing about the Arizona Fall League is, you know, we get to see some guys pop up that we didn't know much about, and then, you know, if like you said, you go live and you get to see some sides of their personality as well. So, all right, we've delayed this long enough. It's time to talk about your boy, Kevin McGonigal. I mentioned
third baseman, Jeremy.
Third baseman. And that is exactly what So I said this on, I don't remember which one of our pods when we were going over, it may have been when we were going over the AL Central, but it was going to be interesting to me what position Kevin McGonigal played once I saw that they announced that he was going to the Arizona Fall League. I had a suspicion that he would not be playing in the middle of the infield, which he did not. He played some third base. So, not only does that show his versatility, because he can play now, obviously, any infield position, he probably wouldn't be, he would be league average in left field at least, my guess would be, because he's a hell of an athlete. So, you're a Tigers fan. You've got your thumb on the pulse a lot more. We can go into his Arizona Fall League stats all night long. He hit the ball well. He did great. Struck out. He had identical numbers to Esmeralyn Valdez on as far as his walks and strikeouts. He's ready, right? Does him playing third base, is this the Tigers' way of saying he's in the opening day lineup?
I hope so. For a short answer, let's look. 2023 only played second base and shortstop in all of his rookie.
Mm-hmm.
2024 A and high A only played second base and shortstop across 64 games. 2025, which was the breakout year for McGonigal across West Michigan, Erie, started the year in Lakeland. I totally forget he played 6 games in Lakeland before they were like, okay, kid, get out of here. So 2025, you're talking 87 games, only DH and shortstop. Played 1 second base game at Lakeland. Then he goes to Arizona, and of his 18 games in Arizona, 12 of them are third base.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that means, so with him, the Detroit Tigers sent Coach Rene. You could tell that it was we need to see you take reps at third so we can make a judgment of what you start position-wise in spring training and or a minor league or major league ready bat. I'm ready to say Kevin McGonigal makes an opening day roster. I truly believe his bat is ready. He's mentally ready. He is incredible to watch. If he is going to be a third baseman for the Detroit Tigers, I now think he starts in Toledo and probably puts 20 or 25 games in Toledo at third, just to make sure that it's a bigger sample size before they put him at the hot corner in Detroit.
Makes perfect sense. From everything I heard, and Kurt, you saw him live, probably extremely small sample size, but from everything I heard, he got great reviews for his ability to handle third base in the short time that he had out there as well. So that's extremely encouraging.
And I have to think that moving from shortstop and having range playing short and second, that it's not a matter of range at third.
No.
It's going to be, what does the arm do when you now add an extra 20 feet to all the throws? He's going to be able to get to them. He's going to be able to cover, baseline all the way over to a true shortstop position. What does that look like on pivoting and turning? Because, again, all of his professional career moving up to this, he's never been outside of shortstop or second. So just kind of those angles to the ball, the bat off the ball, usually on the hot corner. It's called the hot corner for a reason. You got to get a quicker read than what you get on the middle infield. So we'll see what that does. I love it because third base is a blaringly loud and obnoxious hole for the Tigers lineup. So it's interesting that they sent him there to develop it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you look over, if you pop over while you were talking, I jumped over and looked at roster resource real quick, and if you believe what they have on paper right now, I think Gleyber Torres, that re-signing or accepting of the qualifying offer kind of actually surprised me a hair there. So there's one less spot for him because you got to figure Gleyber's your everyday second baseman. Colt Keith, they have right now slotted at third, which, okay. Zach McKinstry at short. Love him. And as a Tigers fan, you probably love him as well. But correct me if I'm wrong, he probably better suits the super utility role.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see Javi Baez taking that spot. As I scroll down here, Jace Young. I don't know. I root for him, but I don't know. I've heard good things about Hao Yu Lee, but I don't know that he's a third baseman. So you might be right. Third base might be his spot.
Now, there's the elephant in the room of the white stove going on right now.
Yep.
That is the most coveted piece at third base for AJ Hinch and the Tigers last year was Alex Bregman.
Sure.
He opted out and he's free again. You better believe that every single national media and hell, probably even Detroit media, the way this team is at and where Scooble's contract is at, you'd still shift McGonigal down to Toledo if you sign Bregman. So it's one of those.
I think you're right.
It's tough. It's a good problem to have.
Oh, it's a great problem to have. Great problem to have. They're starting to get into with some of their prospects. Are starting to get into Los Angeles Dodger territory as in the sense of, well, you can trade and supplement if you need to. All right,
and we're talking about a 21-year-old turned 21 right before Arizona Fall League.
Absolutely.
Massive power bat, and in that lineup where AJ likes to go back and forth, Carey left, Torque right, Riley left. Having another option of left that would probably hit towards the top of the lineup because he's an on-base just machine is really impressive to the Riley Greens and the Torkelsons and the Carpenters, because now I got someone on base forcing the issue at my at-bats.
Yep. Great point. And I think coming out of the draft, a lot of when he came out in 2023, I heard a lot of people say the hit tool wasn't really much of a question. The power, I think, was what a lot of people were questioning. You can't question that much anymore. The guy's
Well, and
really taken a step forward in that department. He's like 270 or 278 ISO this year. That's pretty impressive for a middle infield
well,
prospect.
that's crazy, right? That's corner infield catcher numbers. I bet you he was a $175 wet in high school. And now his body's starting to fill out. That's where the power's coming from. He's figured out his lower half as he's gotten, you're talking major league dietitians and strength coaches. You don't have that in high school. They're planning everything for him, and you can see it in his waist, you can see it in his build. I have not been this excited about a Tigers prospect batting in a while. Like this even eclipses how I felt about Torque coming out as 1.1 out of Arizona State. Like McGonigal could be that Mike Trout level impact immediately.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's have a little fun real quick. I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to ask you to do something that may be hard for you to do. I want you to take your Detroit Tiger fan hat off just for a moment to stay objective, if that's possible.
Absolutely, I'll try my best.
Okay, and we're going to look at this from let's think of this from a dynasty redraft. Let's think of this from a redraft perspective. While we were talking, I pulled up Kevin McGonigal, and on Fantrax right now, his ADP is 276. So let's divide that by 15. So that's having him go in about the middle of the 18th round.
Yep.
So that's putting him as your middle infielder probably on a dynasty league team.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if he plays third base, that changes things. But right now on Fantrax, he's looking more like a middle infielder just because he hasn't qualified at third base, and that's not his natural position. 18th round, provided that he ends up breaking in with the Tigers early on in the year. Let's say even if he spends a month down. 18th round, for the potential he brings, what do you think? Is that a pretty fair landing spot? Is that something that would interest you in a redraft type setting?
I think if you could get McGonigal anywhere around 200, you'd be winning. I would be jumping for joy if he's there in, let's say, the 12th or 13th round. Especially if you're in a dynasty, keeper, set.
Oh, for sure.
Because
yeah,
you can tuck him away for the year. You can tuck him away for 2 years. But it's one of those. He's not in a dynasty format. He's never going to get you steals. He's going to get you limited walks until he, develops that pitch identification and patience a little bit more. He's still a little bit free swinging. Strikeouts are still, I don't want to even say they're a problem, but they're even higher than he would say he wants to be. You're not going to get a lot of triples out of him. You're going to get doubles, home runs, and singles, and it's going to be high average. I'd say, the more I talk it through, you're probably talking 12th or 13th round is where I would feel happy getting him. If he's there after the 13th, for me, it's an automatic grab.
All right, so you're even more bullish on him than, say, like an 18th round pick. So an 18th round pick, you would be backflipping if he were still sitting there at that point. Okay, so let's do a little comparison game here. Okay, if we're looking
on that can you hear me on that Fantrax? If you're searching by ADP, I'm going to put you on who's number 200?
Middle infielder at pick 2 or at an ADP of 200, 204 at this point, is Marcus Semien.
Oh, yes, 100%.
So you, if you take McGonigal over Semien. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Especially now, with an asterisk. If I have a team that I need a plug and play, I'm winning my dynasty championship this year, it's more of a hesitation. If you're even 1 year away, you take McGonigal.
For sure. For sure. Okay, let's go a little higher up the list. Let's just see where your threshold is. Let's go a little higher up the list. With an ADP of 149, you have Ozzy Albies.
Nope, I don't take him over Ozzy.
Okay, so we had you were yes to Simeon at 204. You wouldn't go Albies at 149. 169, so probably a round later than Albies, you have Bryson Stott.
That might be the push.
Yeah, I agree. That's a tough one just because losing a month. But the potential of losing a month would be maybe too much because then also in that range you have Xavier Edwards,
which
I might
over-indexes on steals and doubles and triples. So
sure
I would put him ahead of Xavier. Stott could be a coin flip.
Going down a little further at 183, you have Gleyber Torres, your guy. My playing time is going to be a nice thing there.
Yes, and I'll take Gleyber higher than that this year because it's not a contract year per se because he took the. But at the same time, Gleyber was hurt for the last 2 months of the season.
Yep.
He played with a sports hernia in the playoffs.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
No, I believe you're right. So, but if you get closer to age appropriate, 187 is Matt Shaw, Jacob Wilson 188, Colson Montgomery 212, Ezekiel Tovar 243.
Yeah, and that Colson Montgomery is an interesting comp when it comes to the dynasty world because I could see that. I know I said a push on Stott. Colson Montgomery, where people draft him, is only based off of a small sample size when he got called up last season. I think McGonigal and Colson are similar dynasty players, at least in their first year.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see where he goes, and again, a lot of that is so subjective because we don't know. Those are early drafts, and as you get closer to spring training and start to see how that shake out, I think you're going to see, depending on how things go, you're either going to see that ADP. It's going to break in one direction or the other, I think, based off of his chances of cracking the opening day roster. Rounding out, we talked about the infield. A couple more guys I think we need to throw out there. Catcher Owen Ayers. From Chicago. Again, this is going back to the MLB Pipeline All-Arizona Fall League team. For me, I don't know. Owen Ayers, to me, again, he was in single A, 24-year-old, little old for the level. It just looks and feels a lot like a backup catcher to me.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Kurt?
The same. You can't take away, you said it. I mean, Arizona sometimes is the padded hitter stats because you're facing a pitcher and then not facing them a second time, not facing them a third time. You don't get them fully stretched or fully warmed. And that's admitted. You send hitters there to see what they've got. Very rarely do you send top-notch pitching. We'll talk about that when we get to the couple pitchers we'll mention. I'm not very high on Ayers. There in Arizona, I'm a little bit higher on Walter Yannick with Houston, and I'm actually a little bit higher with Chris Suero.
That was who I was hoping to see Pipeline pick as the catcher, but
yep,
tough to argue with Ayers' numbers that he did put up there with.
No, not at all.
379 average, and again, he deserved it for what he put up there in the Arizona Fall League. Another guy, the DH utility slot that they picked, I'm just going to say the name and let you roll, Max Anderson from your Detroit Tigers.
Box score filler. Max is just, not only can he hit for average, not only can he hit for power, he hits for gap power, he hits for everything. Max is a very interesting decision within the Tigers organization, just because I'm bringing up exactly where we had him in the Prospects 1500 midseason. He gets overlooked a lot, and rightfully maybe so, just because of the Max Clarks, the McGonagalls, the Briseños, the Lorenzos, the How You Lees, lots of different big names and more popular names, let's say, in front of him. In the middle of the midseason, we had him at number 14 for the Tigers. So it's one of those, is he overproducing right now? Was really good coming out of Nebraska, but one of those, where does he fit in? He's 23, he'll be 24 in February. Part of those, championship minor league teams this year that the Tigers had, fully expect him to be a infield utility man all over the place for Toledo next year. And then we'll see what injuries or contracts, clear the way for either post All-Star game, depending on how the team's doing, or definitely a 2027 somewhere around the infield.
I'm double checking my Arizona Fall League stats on him. I need to jump because I did not. I thought I put a typo. Double
447.
Yes, and double the amount of walks to strikeouts. 18
Correct.
walks to 9 strikeouts. Did he lead? Yes, he led the Arizona Fall League in OPS with a 1.418.
Yeah,
OPS.
14-18. 4 home runs, 5 doubles, 21 hits in 14 games. 21 hits in 14 games.
That's
with 18 walks. No, he is in a dynasty world. 2026, you're not going to see him. Unless there's just a massive injury outbreak. I doubt he's in Detroit at all in 2026. If there is baseball in 2027, not to show my hand on where I think labor negotiations will go next December, he should be one of those stashers in a dynasty league, just because there's not a single dynasty stat or fantasy stat that he does not contribute to.
Boy, you're not lying. And he got in, I was just double checking, 135 ABs in AAA this year. Man, 2026 may not be out of the question. Again, it's going to be tough to see where he cracks on that team. But I don't know. He may be a guy that you see end up getting moved.
And he will, true. And you will never, ever hear that man say a negative word. He had to mumble under his breath when they moved McGonagal over to third in Arizona, because that's Max Anderson's natural position is third. Yeah. Now he can play first and he can play second. A lot of the times when McGonagal was playing short, it was because Max was at third. But it's interesting to see McGonagal, the number 2 prospect in all baseball, number 1 on some people's list, push Max off of third base. Yeah. Is that trade bait? Is that I don't know. But he's a hell of a player, and I don't know.
Boy, the Tigers have a good problem. I'm envious. All right, let's jump over to the pitching side. We talk about it being a hitting environment out there in Arizona. So to me, these pitching performances, albeit very, very, very small sample sizes, stand out even more. And the first guy that you already mentioned on how much you were impressed by him was left-handed pitcher Hagen Smith from the White Sox. In 14 innings pitched, only gave up 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 6 walks to 21 Ks with a .93 WHIP. I'd say that's getting the job done. And then the right-handed pitcher from Houston, James Hicks, again, 14 innings pitched. But catch the rest of this. Again, small sample size, 14 innings pitched, 6 hits, 0 earned runs, 2 walks, 19 Ks, and a .57 whip.
It's crazy.
It's insane, and he's got a heck of a story. I love the story for this kid. Came from it's just the type kid you want to root for. Coming as a senior, coming out of Conway, Arkansas, his fastball was sitting in the low 80s. I think he was 150 pounds, soaking wet. He walked on at Crowder Community College, right in my neck of the woods of Neosho, which is actually low key, very, very, very well known for their pitching development program. He was a teammate of Jacob Mizorowski. Then he went to South Carolina in the SEC, got drafted. He's just a really, really, really fun guy to root for. I don't think he'll ever be a big strikeout guy, but he does have a 5-pitch mix. Maybe he'll end up being an innings eating 4 or 5 number 4, number 5 starter. But hey, Houston's one of those teams that they seem to typically have a pitching prospect that is just kind of average, come out of nowhere and do well. So maybe Hicks is that guy, but it's crazy numbers from the Arizona Fall League. Yeesh. And then on the relief pitcher side, we kind of talked about this off air, but Cade Denton, a right-handed pitcher from the Rockies. 2 strikes against him. He's a relief pitcher and he's a Rockies pitcher. So that's about all I'm going to say. Kurt, anything of interest there?
Not really on Cade Denton. You can't discount the fact that he obviously had a well enough fall league. He saw 7 games, which is a testament to itself because that puts him in, the top, let's say 20 or 30 pitchers who went out there.
Sure.
It's interesting to see how his numbers as a relief pitcher come in, just because you could have taken people who were actually full relievers out there, like Emiliano Teodo from the Rangers, who yes, he only pitched 4 innings. He only saw 4 games of 1 inning ball, but he didn't allow a single hit in all 4 of those innings with having 2 saves. So again, not a knock on Denton, good kid, but it was an interesting pick to see him as the relief pitcher pipeline team.
Yeah, that was he did strike out 18 and 13 innings. So I mean, the stuff was there obviously, but
correct.
Yeah, it's more of a middle relief pitcher probably in all actuality.
A whip of 0.85, and you said it. 8. I think the K's is what really impressed because again, we're talking hitter friendly Arizona Fall League. So striking out some of these top prospects is definitely there. 13 innings pitched, 7 hits, but he had 5 earned runs in 13 innings.
Yep.
So even though his whip was down and his average was under 155, he still gave up 5 runs in those 13 innings.
And you touched on it. You talk about strikeouts. Hagen Smith striking out 21 in 14 innings is pretty impressive, especially like you said in that environment. So I'd say Hagen Smith, everybody knows him. He's a legit prospect. James Hicks, we'll see. Great story. Cade Denton, probably not much there. Anything else you want to add on any of the pitchers? I know you've got some pitchers you want to talk about that were not in that group.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. I've got a couple I want to talk about, but let's finish out the team and talk about kind of our snubs, and you'll hear a couple more pitchers come from our mouth.
Kurt, you mentioned I'm gonna give you the opportunity to steal my thunder probably on a couple of these. Do you have any snubs that stuck out to you? I've got a couple that, depending on where you go, I'll talk about as well.
Well, let's stay on the mound just because that's the freshest thing, and then we'll go back to hitter.
Sure.
How do you not have Jake Bennett?
I was wondering if you were going to say him, the Washington guy. Yeah.
Washington, University of Oklahoma. Yeah. Washington liked him so much they drafted him twice, once out of high school and once out of Oklahoma. No, and I cannot argue with Hagen Smith being the quote-unquote starting pitcher, but how do you only have one starting pitcher? Let's name a second one. And his name is Jake Bennett. 5 games. Yes, his ERA was 4.5. Cool. If that's why you kept him out, fine. 25 strikeouts in 20 innings. A whip of 1.25. He gave up 20 hits in 20 innings. He was the second most used pitcher in all of his Arizona Fall League. That says a lot to me about what Washington wanted to see from Jake Bennett, and they saw it. Bixby, Oklahoma, got drafted in 2019 by the Nationals. He said, no thanks, I'm going to go play Oklahoma. I don't like the 39th round. And then he came back and was a second rounder, 3 years later.
Right.
39th round to second round going to Oklahoma for Jake Bennett. Guy has just electric stuff. I keep talking about this shift to just tall, extend the mound downhill, 6'6", 240. Fastball touching triple digits, a little bit lower, 97, 98 on average, but that's going to come super fast from a 6'6" release point. Really impressed by Jake Bennett and what he put up in the Fall League.
Yeah, he was one. I saw a couple clips of him. Of all the games I got to see, I did not actually get to see any of the games that he started. But there were a couple of them in there. He had some pretty nice 7K performance one time, and some pretty interesting outings. I think if I remember right, and I don't have the stats right here in front of me, but if I remember right, he had one kind of bad outing, and that kind of jacked up his ERA and stuff. If I don't remember right, I think he had one that he kind of blew up a little bit in, but the rest of them were all pretty legit.
And limited appearances this year across single A and up to double A, but it's one of those, you could tell they were stretching him out in a world of Arizona Fall League where even the starters might get 1 inning or 2 innings. The fact that he pitched 20 innings across 5 games told me that he wanted to get stretched out and see what happens in the 50-60 pitch mark. I'm excited about Jake Bennett. I think he's got electric stuff. I think he will be a AAA, probably midseason call up for Washington.
Yeah, and you figure with some of the rumors, back to the hot stove, some of the rumors about Washington moving Gore, they're going to need some replacements potentially in that rotation. So, Bennett was one that I thought could have been on there. Luis De Leon from Baltimore, the left-handed pitcher, was another one.
Started the Fall Star game.
Yep.
So
yep.
they gave him a little bit of a nod by letting him start. Yep.
Sure, he was the inning. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was the first inning, and Hagen Smith was the second inning, if I remember right, on the AL side. But his case, the strikeout stuff is there. Walks are still a concern with him, and he carried that over into the Fall League. He struck out 22, but walked 12. He's got to get those walks down, because if you look at the regular season, opponents hit under 200 against him, and out in the fall they hit 179 against him. So gosh, keep him off the free passes, because they're not squaring up his stuff. So, but yeah, he's an interesting one, and with the head scratcher of a trade that Baltimore made with Grayson Rodriguez. Of course, you may not be as surprised about that. You figure Baltimore's going to need some pitching. De Leon's not going to be that in 2026, but maybe 2027 or beyond, he may be somebody that, if he can straighten that control out, maybe one to help out in Baltimore. So
the only other pitcher I want to mention, and it's less about his performance on the field, let's talk about Luke Sennard for the Braves real quick.
Yeah.
The kind of most awkwardly hilarious and funny moment of the Arizona Fall League red carpet entry. I challenge our listeners, go look at what Luke and some of his Braves teammates wore for the red carpet that I guess maybe they weren't told about. But yeah, when you walk in with your locker room bag, bats, and gloves, and you're just in shorts and a t-shirt and a ball cap, red carpet gets a little bit fun. So Yeah, cheers to him and his fellow Braves and teammates there off of the Glendale Desert Dogs, because they made a spectacle out of it, and it was fun to watch.
I haven't seen that. I'm going to have to Google that off air. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Oh, that's
You
good
get these
stuff.
guys and rightfully so, girlfriends and moms and wives just
Mhm.
dressed to a T, dressed like $1,000,000, and then here comes this group of guys just looking like they don't belong at the party. It was fun.
Oh, that's hilarious. Um, Kurt, on the offensive side, did you have anybody that you felt was a snub off that list?
Hey, I stole your pitcher. You want to go first on this, or you want me to steal your player too?
Like I said, I can't argue a whole lot, honestly. On the offensive side, we kind of talked about Braden Montgomery. I think there's maybe some other outfielders there. I'd like to see maybe Chris Suero as a catcher. I'm definitely not going to argue on across the infield. I think they nailed the infield. There was an outfielder I really liked. I don't know that I'd so much call him a snub, but it was just somebody that I had kind of honed in on even before Arizona Fall League, because I really
Hmm.
like Nick Morabito
Okay.
for the Mets. This is the prototypical case of a guy that needed to show the organization what they have, because he was Rule 5 eligible, and the Mets have selected him and protected him from the Rule 5. So, but he didn't have the sexy numbers. They were good, just not super sexy. But he hit 362, 450, 464, 25 hits in 17 games. Two doubles, a triple, a home run. So not a whole lot of slugging, but that's not really his game. Stole 16 bases. Um, I like him. I like Nick Morabito. He's a fourth outfielder, probably, especially in with the Mets. But I would I like Nick Morabito, and I kind of wanted to see how he performed uh, uh, this summer. But yeah, so that would really be the only one. Daniel Vasquez had a pretty good Arizona Fall League
Hmm.
as well, the shortstop for the Royals. But you can't argue. You're not taking out Seaver King, Antonacci, or McGonigal out of that infield. So, um, you know, I think Pipeline got it pretty good. But I have a feeling you're gonna pick another outfielder, maybe.
I am going to pick another outfielder, and don't tell my Aggie father and brothers. I was impressed with Dylan Campbell, and
Yes, yes,
ri-
yes.
rivalry week, rivalry week in football this week, as we record this on Monday the 24th, is I hate to give credit to a TU ball player, but Dylan Campbell, who got drafted by the Dodgers, surprisingly, a year later, the Dodgers trade him for some international cap space. Shocker, the Dodgers needed some cap space. I think the Phillies have a underrated. He's not in most people's top 30 for Philly. Uh, he had a really good fall league after hitting this year across multiple levels. Uh, High A and Double A. High A, he was hitting 302. Then he moved to Double A and he only hit 209 in 64 games. In his 19 games and 56 at bats in Arizona Fall League, he was over 300 with an OPS over 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2025, his OPS in the minors was only 666. He went over 1,000 in Arizona. Um, Again, you've said it multiple times. I've said it a couple. Arizona League is a league for hitters to find their something. Work on a swing, work on keeping an elbow in, work on, not lifting a lead foot high enough. They go there as an extended batting practice that's over a month long. I was really impressed with Dylan Campbell as an outfielder and sometimes third baseman,
Mm-hmm.
corner infielder for the Phillies.
Yeah, he was a name that popped up to me when I was doing some of the research as well, and again, kind of my prospect angle there: 14 walks, 17 strikeouts, so he controlled the zone well. So, like seeing that for sure.
And
Great name there.
and and get this, Arizona Fall League. 2 games at first, 4 games at second, 3 games at or 6 games at third, 3 in center field, 7 in where it's just designated as an outfield, and then 4 in right field. So talk about a guy who can literally change gloves and play all 7 fielding positions, such battery. I think there's one, the Phillies trying to figure out what did we get in him and where can we put him in 2026 and find a home for him.
I'm going to give a shout out here for Dynasty Deep Dive and fellow Nixa, Missouri friend here, Mike Kelly. Got to give him a shout out. One of his Braves, Patrick Clohesy, stole 22 bases in 21 games.
Fan vote winner for the National League on Sunday's Fall Star game.
There you go.
Interesting story about Patrick. Brought his mom on the red carpet, and I'm still a sucker. Call it, being a mama's boy and the youngest of 3 boys. I love it when players bring their moms places because you can just tell immediately how absolutely proud his mom was to be there on Sunday for Fall Star game.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's great.
It was cool. We joked
story.
We joked with her that her picture with Patrick on the red carpet should make a Christmas card, and she was quick to remind us the other children probably wouldn't appreciate that.
Man, that's great stuff.
He gets a little bonus credit on your call out for stolen bases, the fact that he brought his mom to the red carpet.
Oh, 100%. So I'm super. I didn't know that story, so
makes you like him even more, right?
There you go. Get shout out to the parents. Love it. Man, Kurt, anything else you want to add about this? I feel like we've, we could probably talk another hour about this, but
I want to do one thing, and we can make it really quick because I know we're talking a lot about Arizona Fall League, but as you and I have found out in other episodes of Futures Focus, you and I can go back and forth, I feel like, a whole day.
Yes.
Let's talk about one person that was just disappointing.
Okay.
I know. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I know who you're going to say, so I won't take it.
Well, I've got 2 that I was super, super disappointed in. So I'm going to let you go first because if you take it, great. I've got another one. So
I don't think I'm going to. I was disappointed in Enrique Bradfield from the Orioles.
I agree.
Super high out of Vanderbilt. Just amazingly nice man, smart man. You ever want a good interview question? Ask him about some of his classes he had to take at Vanderbilt. The man had to take advanced statistics on a baseball scholarship. So it's one of those, he is a really, really bright young man. He only hit .221, 9 RBIs. Sure, he had 17 stolen bases, which is what he's known for, is that speed and that defense, but you've got to get on base in Arizona more than hitting .220.
Yep.
So a little bit disappointed in Bradfield, and some of that might be just some fatigue. That's the bad thing about Arizona Fall League. To Tommy White's comment at the Home Run Derby, you want me to take full swings in November? I've been doing full swings for the last 8 months.
Very true.
Full swings in November are not fun.
No.
So I get it, but yeah, 221 out of Bradfield. He's my kind of disappointment.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually. I mean, a good one, tongue in cheek, for sure. Because he's a guy even that some had talked about, could be the center fielder of the not so distant future in Baltimore, because he is a heck of a defender. I'm going to go with one, and I'm going to go with Brandon Winokur, shortstop, Minnesota. I really like him. I love his power, speed, potential. I've talked about this on other podcasts. In my dynasty leagues, on my dynasty teams, I'm a sucker for 2020 type players just because, they just find that they can win me a league. And he had an underwhelming season this year at high A. So I was thinking, man, this hitter friendly environment in the Arizona Fall League may be exactly what he needs to get back on track. But he hit 192 with a 277 OBP. Power was there. I mean, he hit 3 doubles, 2 bombs, but eesh, man, 9 walks, 19 Ks. It just was it was a little bit rough for Brandon. But again, man, like you said, it's November. He played a full minor league season. Who knows what he was working on?
What
I mean, he may have been going down there looking to, say drive the outside pitch or something. Who knows? But man, I just, you kind of highlight a few guys when you see the rosters come out, and I saw his name and I thought, as somebody who's owned several shares of him in a dynasty league, I was super, super
20 years old. Remember,
he's
20
young.
years old.
He's young.
He's young.
And he was raw, and that you knew that coming in. He was raw, so he's got some time. And Minnesota is not exactly in a hurry to rush him to the majors by any stretch of the imagination either. So,
well, that's kind of why I went with Bradfield, because he was a college bat. He's older.
Yes.
I can forgive PJ Morlando had a terrible fall.
Yeah, that was another one on my list.
But just like Winokur, you're talking about a 20-year-old. I'll give them both credit. They both, Winokur stayed there for 21 games. PJ stayed there for 18. There's a lot of times where a team will see again, and it's the blessing and the curse of how they can do the rosters in Arizona. They might see them for 10 games, not see what they want to see, and say, okay, give it up, go home, enjoy your offseason. We'll see you pitchers and catchers. So it's one of those, I appreciate it when they kind of stay there the whole month and continue to grind and work through that struggle. But yeah, you're right. Brandon and PJ were kind of tough. The older ones are where it starts to say to me, how much more will the team see? If you can't go to Arizona and hit, what does that mean for the Enrique Bradfields, the Cam Colliers, the Ed Howard?
That was another name. Mm-hmm.
The Ed Howards. Some of these guys who were huge names and prospects 2-3 years ago when they got drafted, and now 2 or 3 years later, they're in Arizona struggling, playing alongside 19 and 20-year-old.
I agree 100%. But another one that I was kind of frustrated a little bit with, because again, a guy that I really like is Jansel Luis. He really didn't hit very well at all either, and that one was pretty disappointing because his strikeouts went up quite a bit as well. But
and then you have the oddball where I really like Arizona Fall League, and this can kind of be maybe my closing on Arizona Fall League.
Sure.
Because of how it positioned on Rule 5, I love it when you get some of the guys who are Rule 5 eligible, and it either forces the team to make a decision. The shit or get off the pot.
Yep.
Sorry, Scott Green, our president and founder, for the curse word I just said. But Leo Balcazar for the Reds, he led the Arizona Fall League in strikeouts with 29.
Yep.
29 strikeouts to 9 walks, and the Reds protected him. So they saw enough. He had 94 at-bats. He led the league in at-bats. So you could tell the Reds were like, dude, we're going to send you down there, and we've told the coaches to hit you as much as possible. And in those 94 ABs in 24 games, Leo did enough to where the Reds protected him. I love that side of Arizona Fall League.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No kidding. That's the neat thing about it is, we're sitting here as fans, and we're watching these guys, and you're seeing some of the really cool stories and stuff. But these organizations have a purpose for why these guys are there, and the numbers are not always what it's about. You just really never really know. So
the good news is anybody who ever makes it out to Arizona Fall League, if you're out there on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's a whole group of us prospect nerds from every single publication that you can think of. We're at those games early, we're at them late, and we're running from one ball field to another ball field to catch the start, maybe 2 innings of one game while going over to the other to catch the end of the other game. Come out. It's a great time. We'll sit in the fun fall air of Phoenix and watch some baseball.
Oh, for sure, man. I need to get down there. I've been to spring training out in Arizona, but I've been told the weather's a little more friendly in the Arizona Fall League than it is in spring training.
just a bit.
Yeah, that might for a bald-headed man, that might be more my cup of tea. So, but man, Kurt, man, this has been a blast. Again, we could probably roll on this for for a while longer, but all good things must come to an end. But man, I appreciate you. It's great to hear about the Arizona Fall League experience. That's why I loved having you on, because we can sit here and we can look at the stats. I can look at the stats with anybody, but man, having your insight on some of these stories, who brought their mom to the red carpet, and so man, that's just super cool and stuff you just don't get normally. So man, I sure appreciate you coming on and giving us that level of insight. So.
Well, happy to be here. Thanks for having me. And we've got 80 days till pitchers and catchers,
Yes, man, I can't wait.
something like that.
Yep, cannot
I know
wait.
we've got prospects 1500 at winter meetings, covering
Yes.
all the
Yep.
prospects being traded and signed. So that's
Yep.
exciting. Baseball
Yep.
never stops, man. Year
It
round, we
doesn't.
can talk year round.
It doesn't, and you segued perfectly into what I was going to say. We've got a couple of our writers at the winter meeting, so we're gonna have a wrap up from there as well, and got some other fun things planned for the off season going on too. So the weather's going to get colder, but again, baseball never cools down, so we'll just keep it rolling.
And this might be the end of me with you, Jeremy, but we need to. I kind of enjoy my off season.
Yes, sir.
College baseball starts last week in February, so get
Yep.
ready for a bunch of tournaments across Texas, Vegas, and Florida. Seeing the best of the best move south and into warmer weather. But man, what an off season this could be! And again, the last off season under the current CBA, so we'll see what that means and what teams do. But I'm excited, glad to share some time with you, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely, and like we've talked with Sean Kernahan, we're gonna do a little bit more with the college this year, and have some episodes just devoted to college, and a little bit more, and get you and Sean on there to talk about that stuff. So pretty excited, man. Pretty excited about some of the things we got coming up, and what we got going on. So Kurt, enjoy your off season. Maybe the next time you and I talk, we'll have a lot more clarity on who's playing third base for the Detroit Tigers, and who's going to be closing for them as well. So, Kurt, but again, man, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas. Talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. We'll talk soon.
That'll do it for this episode. We'll catch you guys next time on Futures Focus, a Prospects 1500 podcast.